While patrolling, a female astronaut was horrified to discover a soft-bodied creature, resembling an octopus, hiding in the crevice of the spaceship. Curious, the astronaut collected it for research. However, just as she finished and was about to leave, a teammate happened to pass by. Seeing the tragically dead teammate, the astronaut finally realized the terror of this creature. Yet she didn't know that her foolish action would directly lead to the fall of the entire base. This is the latest 2025 sci-fi disaster film, Ash. Humans discovered Earth 2 in outer space, intending to transform it into a new Earth, but unexpectedly, they found an alien civilization on it. The story begins with a strange coma. In a base 8,000 light-years away from Earth, a woman wakes up from unconsciousness. Looking at the pitch-black room, the woman is full of confusion. At this moment, a warning broadcast sounds through the base. Hearing the alert, the woman remembers her identity. Her name is Rhea, and she is a scientific researcher on this base. But somehow, the base encountered an attack, and Rhea was hit on the head during it. When she woke up again, the base had become like this. Although she didn't know what had attacked the base, now was not the time to dwell on it. Rhea found a flashlight intending to start the backup power, but when she arrived at the corridor, she found it in complete disarray, with bloodstains everywhere. As Rhea panicked, a corpse appeared at the end of the corridor. The man's death was extremely strange, as if he had suffered some terrifying attack while alive. Rhea took the knife from the man's chest and hurried toward the control room. However, just as she reached the door, Rhea found another corpse. This corpse's death was the same as the man's just now. Rhea turned on the backup power, and as the power was restored, the equipment in the base began to operate. At this moment, Rhea heard the sound of the airlock opening. She went to the corridor and found that the entrance to the base had been opened, but outside was nothing but desolation. There was nothing there. While Rhea was puzzled, a figure appeared not far away. Thinking it was another survivor, Rhea raised her hand to greet them. The figure in the distance also noticed Rhea and responded. But just as she was about to approach, she suddenly sensed something wrong. Looking at the sky above her head, Rhea's whole body was bad. Before she could react, she felt her throat tightening. She couldn't breathe. Realizing something was wrong, Rhea rushed back toward the base. Upon returning to the entrance, she immediately locked the hatch. Perhaps because of the earlier frantic run, fragmented memories began to emerge in Rhea's mind. It turns out that this is not Earth, but a planet 8,000 light-years away. 5 years ago, humans discovered this planet. It not only had a thin layer of oxygen, but also contained abundant resources. With slight modifications, it could become a second Earth. To transform the planet, Rhea's exploration team was sent here. They built gas modification equipment on the planet, intending to increase the oxygen level to a breathable amount. However, just when the team happily thought they had succeeded, an accident happened. The base was suddenly attacked by a strange existence and eventually fell, but Rhea could never remember exactly what had attacked the base. She went to the infirmary and simply treated her wounds. Then, Rhea searched the base, hoping to find any survivors. But after searching all the rooms, she didn't see a single teammate. Just when Rhea thought everyone had perished, the system detected a life form in Sector 1. Rhea hurried to Sector 1. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a shadow moving in the corridor. Thinking the shadow was the thing that attacked the base, Rhea quietly pulled out the knife she had found earlier. Seeing that the man lying on the ground was a teammate, Rhea hurriedly stopped what she was doing. The man introduced himself as Brian, a crew member from the orbital team. 3 hours ago, they had received a distress signal from Rhea, saying that the base was under attack. However, at that time, the orbital ship was on the far side of the planet and couldn't provide immediate support. After the orbital ship returned to orbit, Brian piloted a landing pod to arrive at the base. Hearing Brian's explanation, Rhea vaguely remembered who he was, but because of her memory loss, she still couldn't recall what had attacked the base. Brian took out a simple medical device and scanned Rhea's brain. Through the scan, Rhea learned that the cause of her amnesia was swelling in a part of her brain, pressing against her nerves and causing temporary memory loss, but with rest, she would recover in a few days. From Brian, Rhea also learned that they were not just a scientific research team, but humanity's last hope. It turned out that in 2025, Earth had entered a state of depletion due to excessive exploitation by humans. To continue civilization, humanity had sent out 7 fleets into space to search for habitable planets. The first 6 fleets all failed, and only their fleet had found this planet. If anything went wrong here, human civilization would truly be doomed. With the help of medical equipment, Ria's wounds were stitched up, and Brian told her to prepare, as the orbital ship would arrive above them in 12 hours. It would be best for them to return to the outer orbit first and figure out what had happened on the planet before proceeding with further terraforming. However, Ria didn't want to leave. She wanted to find out what exactly had happened at the base. If they unknowingly brought something unknown onto the ship, it could lead to the fall of the orbital ship as well. Because of this, the two had an argument. But before Ria could finish her words, a violent storm erupted outside the base.
Hull breach, oxygen level.
Noticing that the oxygen levels in the base were rapidly dropping, Raya immediately thought of a leak. After a round of inspection, she quickly located the leaking area. It turned out that the outer wall near the ventilation shaft had been damaged. Ria fetched the repair equipment and entered the duct, but inside, she found bloodstains everywhere. Could it be that the thing that attacked the base had entered through here? Ria didn't have time to investigate further. She found the damaged spot and repaired the wall. Because of the leak, the base's oxygen level had dropped by 30%. Brian reminded her that if they didn't leave within 5 hours, the remaining oxygen wouldn't last until the orbital ship's next alignment with the base. After some thought, Raya decided to leave first, but just as she was packing her things, she accidentally found the exploration logs from the team's earlier missions on the planet. She opened one of them and discovered that this planet was not as simple as they had imagined. It turned out that during their landing, the team had detected an abnormal radiation source on the planet. Under the captain's leadership, Ria and the others ventured into that area. When they arrived at the anomaly zone, they discovered a man-made tunnel. Through analysis and testing, they were shocked to find that an alien civilization had already been here long before them. To purify the poisonous gases on the planet, the aliens had built tens of thousands of purification devices here. It was precisely these machines that had gradually increased the oxygen levels of the planet. The unexpected discovery greatly surprised Ria and the others. The captain immediately reported the situation. However, just as they were preparing to scan and study the operation of these devices, a curious team member threw a stone into the well below. Seeing the glowing substance surging out from the well, all the team members were stunned. But this was not the most terrifying part. After the first well was activated, the same glowing substance began to gush out from the other wells as well. These substances gathered in mid-air, forming a massive cloud, and the team immediately rushed back to the base to prepare for evacuation. After the glowing substances appeared, the team members lost their sanity and started to go mad. Ria was attacked by the captain, and in a panic, she grabbed a pair of scissors from the table and stabbed him to death. But before Raya could catch her breath, she was ambushed from behind. In a daze, Raya remembered that it was Clark, one of the team members, who had attacked her. Realizing what was happening, Ria rushed into the corridor, wanting to inform Brian about the microorganisms in the air. But when she reached the equipment room, she was horrified to find Clark rummaging through the equipment. Ria turned and hid in a nearby passage, only to see an even more horrifying scene when she looked back. Brian was lying there in the passageway. Half of his face had already rotted and was emitting a foul stench, looking like he had been dead for days. If Brian had already died long ago, then who was it that had come to find her earlier? At that thought, a terrifying idea suddenly popped into Ria's mind. Could it be that the team members had all been parasitized by those glowing substances? Before Raya could react, she was suddenly dragged out. Upon closer look, she realized it was Clark who had grabbed her. She picked up a flamethrower and set Clark's spacesuit on fire, but the suit was fireproof. The unlucky Ria was pinned to the ground by Clark and brutally manhandled. Just as Ria was about to be beaten to death, she accidentally noticed a water pipe on the ground. She grabbed the water pipe and shoved it into Clark's ventilation opening. Watching the helmet fill with water, Clark tried to take off She's suit, but Raya overpowered She, and eventually, Clark drowned to death. After calming down, Ria dragged Clark to the infirmary. However, after scanning, the machine told Ria that there were no unknown life forms inside Clark's body. Could it be that Clark wasn't parasitized after all? While Raya was struggling to understand what was happening, the system issued a reminder that the orbital ship had arrived at the designated location, and if she didn't depart now, she would miss the chance to return to the space station. With no other option, Ria suited up and prepared to pilot the landing pod back. But when Raya activated the thruster, she found that it was already damaged. Helpless, Rhea had to return to the base again. She found Brian's body and scanned it, but there was no parasitic organism inside him either, and the report showed that he had died 3 days ago. Looking at the report, Rhea was torn with doubt. If the team members weren't parasitized by alien life forms, then why had they all gone mad? At that moment, the hatch to the corridor opened. Rhea turned her head and saw Brian, who had clearly died long ago, standing in the hallway. Gradually, Rhea began to recall what had happened back then. At that time, the team had tested those glowing substances and discovered that they were actually life forms. Rhea had captured a juvenile specimen for research. Through observation, Rhea found that these creatures had no skeletons, but were extremely agile. Even more astonishing was that they didn't need to reproduce. They could replicate infinitely. The unexpected discovery made Rhea extremely excited, but just as the team was about to return with the sample, the creature inside the container escaped. The creature drilled into the captain's body, causing him to lose control and attack Rhea. The other team members tried to help but were no match for the captain. Rhea grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed the captain to death. But after the captain died, the creature parasitized another person's body, and the out-of-control team members began attacking others. It was during that time that Rhea was knocked unconscious. Originally, Rhea would have been killed just like the others, but the creature didn't kill her. Instead, it burrowed into her body. Remembering everything, Rhea hurried to the infirmary and scanned her own brain. Rhea felt a flood of information pouring into her mind. It turned out that the civilization that had terraformed this planet was these very creatures. After discovering the arrival of humans, the creatures also wanted to study them, which led to the madness and parasitism. Everything Rhea had seen before was actually an illusion created by the creatures. Understanding the truth, Rhea activated a device to extract the creature from her brain. But just as Rhea thought she was safe, the creature escaped into Brian's body. Once parasitized, Brian could even change his form and transformed into a monster. The monster approached Rhea, intending to kill her, but it didn't notice the flamethrower lying next to Rhea. In an instant, the monster was burned to death. Leaving the base, Rhea started the landing pod to return to the space station. But as Rhea piloted the ship up into orbit, she was shocked by the scene before her eyes. And that's the full story of Ash, the latest 2025 disaster film. Overall, the quality of the movie is quite good. Alright, that's it for today's share. See you next time.